chosen one, stop what you are doing right now and lock every part of your attention onto this message. That restless feeling you have been carrying all day, the one that kept pulling you back to your phone, back to this screen, back to something you could not name that was not distraction, that was direction. This video is going private soon, and before it disappears, I need you to understand something that cannot wait. You did not stumble onto this recording. The algorithm did not surface this for you. The Most High did. And what I am about to say was prepared for one specific person, sitting exactly where you are sitting right now. I know what the last 72 hours have felt like. The atmosphere around you has not just been quiet, it has been thick, dense, like something is pressing against the air itself. Maybe you have been moving through your day with a smile on your face, while something inside you has been completely still, completely held, waiting for a signal you did not know how to ask for. Or maybe you woke up at 3:00 inches the morning this week and just lay there, staring at the ceiling, with a thought circling in your mind that you have not told a single person about. You feel like you are standing in a hallway between two doors. The one behind you has closed, the one in front of you has not opened yet. And in that hallway, the enemy has been filling the silence with a very specific lie. He has been telling you that the reason the door in front of you is not opening is because of what you did, or what you did not do. He has been replaying that moment from this week. Maybe the moment you pulled back when you should have pushed forward. Maybe the moment you went silent when you wanted to fight. Maybe the moment you let go of something you had been holding on to for years. And he has been telling you that moment was the reason. That you disqualified yourself, that the blessing passed its window and now you are starting over. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this season. Nahum 1-9 says, "What do you conspire against the Lord? He will make an utter end of it. Affliction shall not rise up the second time." Listen to that carefully. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. The enemy wants you to believe this is a cycle. He wants you to believe you are back at the beginning, but that is a deception planted specifically because of what is scheduled to happen in the next 24 hours. You are not in a cycle. You are in a conclusion. The darkness has been pressing hard this week for one reason only. It sees the door. It sees that the threshold you are standing at is not the entrance to another season of waiting. It is the entrance to the thing you have been prepared for. And it is working overtime right now because it knows that once you cross it, there is no negotiation, no reclaim, no second assignment. Think back to that moment this week when you wanted to react and you did not. When you wanted to explain yourself and you stayed silent. When you wanted to fight back and you chose to walk away instead. You thought that was weakness. You thought it cost you something. But I need you to hear this clearly. That moment was not weakness. That was the weapon. That specific act of restraint, that surrender of control, that silence, was the move that signed the eviction notice. You did not ruin the plan. You completed it. It all ends tomorrow. The confusion, the suspension, the warfare, the heaviness in your chest that has no name. But it is not ending because of luck or timing or coincidence. It is ending because of what you have done. You did not find this recording by accident. The Holy Spirit brought you here. This is a divine appointment that was scheduled before the foundations of the earth. And this message was prepared for the version of you that almost did not click. Stay until the final second of this message. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the legal decree that cancels every assignment the enemy has launched against your name in this season. I am going to walk you through the exact moment this week where you activated your breakthrough without knowing it. And at the end, we are going to seal this with a declaration that locks the door on everything that has been pursuing you. Do not leave. Your future self is on the other side of this message. And if you close this window before the verdict is read, you risk reopening a door that God has already shut. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of punishment. It is the weight of finality. It is a cord pulled to its absolute limit, one breath away from breaking. You are not starting over, you are finishing. And if you're still here, that's not a coincidence. Most people would have scrolled past this by now, but something held you. Something in your spirit recognized the frequency of this message before your mind could even process the words. That's not algorithm, that's alignment. Some messages don't just inform, they activate. If something stirred deep in your spirit just now, you may be ready to receive the Chosen One's blueprint. This sacred guide reveals the 8 divine patterns behind your calling, your suffering, and your destiny. It also comes with the full audiobook, so you can absorb it during prayer, rest, or quiet moments with God. And for those called to speak His truth, you'll also receive Activating Your Prophet Mantle, a powerful bonus ebook for those carrying a prophetic assignment. The link is in the first pinned comment, but only for a limited time. Now let me tell you what's really happening to you. Because this isn't just about struggle. This isn't just about feeling overlooked, misunderstood, or like your life has been moving in slow motion while everyone around you seems to be advancing. There is something deeper going on beneath the surface of your life, something most people never get close enough to the truth to see clearly. And what you're about to hear is going to reframe everything. Here is the revelation that most people never receive. The very things that were meant to destroy you were actually engineered by heaven to develop you. Not allowed, engineered. There is a difference. When something is merely allowed, it passes through, like a fleeting shadow. When something is engineered, it has a design, a purpose, a precise function in the intricate architecture of who you are becoming. It is divinely calibrated, and the enemy knows this, which is why the attacks on your life didn't feel random. They weren't. You were targeted early because what's inside you is a threat to darkness, not someday, not in theory, but right now, in this season, in this very form. Your very essence is a sacred fire that the shadows cannot abide. Think about David. Before the crown, there was the field. Before the palace, there was the wilderness. Before the throne, there was a valley so dark that even the man who wrote songs to God admitted he was surrounded by death, his soul calling out from the deepest pit. But what most people miss about David's story is this. The suffering didn't interrupt his calling. The suffering was his curriculum, the very pathway of his preparation. The lion and the bear that attacked his flock in the field were not random tragedies, they were divine assignments, God's training exercises. God allowed David to face what he could handle in obscurity, in the quiet crucible of his youth, so that when Goliath stood before him in public, a giant against an entire nation, his hand would already know the weight of the stone, his aim true, his courage forged in the fires of the unseen. Your suffering has been your curriculum too, a sacred syllabus designed by the master teacher. And here's where it goes deeper, where the true revelation lies. The problem isn't that you haven't been trained. The problem is that you haven't recognized the training for what it is. You've been calling your preparation a punishment, mistaking the refining fire for a mark of disgrace. You've been calling your isolation a rejection, seeing the empty rooms as a sign of God's absence rather than His presence, drawing you into a deeper intimacy. You've been calling your delay a denial, viewing the slow unfolding of your destiny as a closed door rather than a purposefully timed unveiling. And as long as you misread the season, as long as you interpret the divine hand through the lens of earthly disappointment, you'll resist the very process that's painstakingly producing your breakthrough, like a potter fighting the wheel that shapes him. But here's something most people miss entirely, and I need you to stay with me for this, because it changes everything, like a key turning in a lock that has held you captive. The isolation you've been experiencing is not God pulling away from you, leaving you adrift in a lonely sea. It is God pulling you away from everything that cannot come where He's taking you, clearing the path for a future that requires a purer vessel. There is a profound difference between abandonment and separation. Abandonment leaves you with nothing, shattered and alone. Separation sets you apart for something, consecrating you for a sacred purpose. And the chosen don't always know the difference in the middle of the process. That uncertainty, that tension of not knowing, that disorienting quiet is part of the refinement, the sacred alchemy that purifies your spirit. Think of Elijah beneath the juniper tree. This was a man who had just called down fire from heaven, a spectacular display of divine power. A man who had stood before kings without flinching, a beacon of unwavering courage. And yet there he was, utterly alone, physically and emotionally exhausted, whispering to God that he had had enough, that he wanted to die, his spirit shattered like a dropped vessel. And what did God do? He didn't rebuke him. He didn't deliver a stern sermon. He didn't strip him of his calling. He let him sleep, a gentle permission to rest in his weariness. He fed him, supernatural sustenance for his journey. He touched him gently, a divine caress of comfort, and said, "Arise and eat, because the journey is too great for thee." God met him in his collapse, not with condemnation, but with profound provision and tender love. Because chosen people don't get disqualified by their breaking points. They get fed and strengthened for the next leg of the journey, their humanity acknowledged and embraced by the divine. And what's coming next in this message will likely surprise you, because it has to do with something you thought was a profound weakness, a flaw etched into your very being, but is actually your greatest, most potent weapon, a hidden reservoir of divine power. Before we get there, I need you to understand this crucial truth. You have been in agreement with something that was never yours to carry, a spiritual contract signed in ignorance. You have been rehearsing a narrative about yourself, a story written by people who could not see your full assignment, who were blind to the celestial blueprint of your life. People who looked at your struggle and made a final verdict, pronouncing judgment rather than offering empathy. People who looked at your silence and called it weakness, mistaking your quiet strength for an absence of power. People who looked at your waiting and called it failure, failing to see the fertile ground of preparation. And somewhere along the way, in the relentless echoes of these pronouncements, you started to agree with them. Not because you believed it fully, not because it resonated with the deepest truth of your spirit, but because when enough voices, both internal and external, say the same thing, it begins to wear down your defenses and start to feel like truth, like an undeniable reality. But agreement is not truth. Agreement is merely a door, an opening through which influences can pass. And what you've been opening that door to has been slowly, insidiously draining the very power that heaven deposited inside you before you were even born, a celestial inheritance being siphoned away. Every time you say, "I don't know if I'm good enough," you're not being humble. You're repeating a lie, a carefully crafted falsehood designed to keep you small. Every time you shrink back when God is prompting you forward, when the Spirit nudges you into a new territory, you're not being cautious. You're being controlled by the whispers of doubt, allowing yourself to be held captive. And the enemy doesn't need to launch a frontal assault to destroy you if he can just keep you in a perpetual state of self-doubt. A chosen one who doesn't know they're chosen, who lives in the shadow of their own perceived inadequacy, is the safest, most neutralized threat there is to the kingdom of darkness. This is the turning point. This is the precipice from which everything begins to shift, the moment of quantum change. You have to break agreement with the version of yourself that was defined by what you went through, the self forged in the crucible of hardship. You must consciously and deliberately step into the version of yourself that was designed before any of that happened, the original blueprint of your soul. Before the abandonment, before the betrayal, before the devastating diagnosis, before the profound loss, before anyone ever told you who you were or who you weren't, attempting to confine you within their limited perception. Heaven had already written your name, inscribed it in the celestial archives with indelible ink. And that name, that divine designation, carries a weight, a power, a resonance that no amount of earthly rejection can ever erase. Now, once that truth lands deep in your spirit, once it settles like a seed in fertile ground, you're ready for this next layer of revelation. And stay with me, because this is the part that truly begins to break the cycle wide open, releasing you from the chains of the past. The thing that's been keeping you stuck, that invisible tether holding you in place, is not the enemy's attack, not the demons you've been rebuking. I know that's not what you expected to hear, because we've been taught to fight the external forces. You've been praying against the enemy. You've been rebuking the darkness with all your spiritual might. You've been standing in spiritual authority over every force that's tried to come against your life. And that's not wrong. It's a necessary part of the spiritual battle. But here's the layer beneath the layer, the deeper truth that's often obscured. The greatest weapon the enemy has ever used against you is not a person, not a circumstance, not a spiritual force operating from the outside. It's the agreement you made inside yourself, the quiet consent you gave to a narrative of defeat. It's the ingrained belief that your story is too broken, too scarred, too deeply wounded to ever be redeemed or restored. It's the subtle, insidious, almost imperceptible suspicion that God may have called others, lavished His grace upon them, but perhaps overlooked you, passing you by in His divine plan. That lie that's subtle, sophisticated, well-dressed lie that masquerades as humility or realism has done more damage to your destiny, has erected more formidable barriers to your calling than any external force ever could. Because you cannot walk in authentic authority over your future. You cannot embody the fullness of your divine potential if you are secretly, subconsciously, in agreement with the damning verdict of your past. And yet, and this is where the message becomes deeply confrontational, where it asks you to face uncomfortable truths, even that belief, that deep-seated fear that you might have been overlooked, that you might have been missed by God's grace, that too was part of the divine process, a permitted trial designed to forge something greater. Because the chosen one must eventually reach the place where they stop waiting for external validation, stop waiting for permission from the world or even from their own fears. They must stop waiting for someone to validate the calling that God Himself has placed within them. They must stop waiting for the circumstances to magically align or for every I to be dotted and turned to be crossed before they decide to believe. There is a sacred moment, and I believe with all my heart this is that moment for you, where you have to make a decision that isn't supported yet by empirical evidence, a choice that isn't validated by what you can physically see or logically comprehend, where you have to declare with unwavering conviction what God has spoken over your life, even before a single thing looks different on the outside, even when the world says otherwise. Because that is not delusion. That is faith operating at its highest frequency, a direct pipeline to the heart of the divine. Coming up, the one thing hiding beneath even your strongest faith that could still be quietly sabotaging everything, a subtle erosion of your spiritual momentum. Stay with me, because this is the deepest layer, the unseen obstacle that most people never even realize is present. Here is what no one tells the chosen, the profound whisper that is often missed in the roar of spiritual striving. There is a version of faith that looks incredibly powerful on the outside, that performs feats and declares victory, but is actually rooted in a subtle, pervasive fear. It's the faith that prays loudly and passionately, yet doesn't fully surrender the reins, clinging to control. It's the faith that believes God times can times. His power is undeniable, His miracles are real, but quietly doubts that God times will. specifically for times you, in times your times situation, with times your times unique struggles. It's the faith that can quote scripture with impeccable accuracy, that knows all the promises by heart, but still constantly checks the external circumstances, scanning the horizon to see if God has shown up yet, looking for external confirmation rather than internal trust. And here's the hard truth, the uncomfortable reality. That kind of faith is not a genuine spiritual gift operating in its pure form. It is a spiritual defense mechanism, a sophisticated shield constructed by a wounded soul. It is how people who have experienced deep hurt and disappointment often experience God at arm's length, believing in his immense power but bracing themselves for his potential absence, always prepared for the letdown. And it produces a life that is perpetually standing at the edge of the breakthrough, so close you can almost touch it, but never fully stepping through it, never fully experiencing the liberation. The prophet Jeremiah knew this profound tension intimately. God told him before he was even formed in the womb, before his first breath, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I sanctified you. I ordained you a prophet to the nations," a divine declaration of his destiny. And Jeremiah's first response was not immediate worship or unrestrained gratitude. It was a faltering, "Alas, Lord God, indeed I do not know how to speak, for I am only a youth." Even after this undeniable divine appointment, his first movement was not toward his calling, but toward the perceived wall of his own limitation, his youth and inexperience. God didn't argue with him. He didn't try to convince him of his capabilities through logical debate. God simply reached out, a divine touch, and said, "See, I have put my words in your mouth." The calling itself was never in question. It was divinely ordained. The only true question, the pivotal point of decision, was whether Jeremiah would stop negotiating with his own limitations and start operating from the fullness of his God-given appointment. You have been negotiating with your limitations for far too long, allowing your perceived weaknesses to dictate your path and silence your divine assignment. And now we reach the part of this message that will either break everything open for you, shattering the old paradigms and ushering in a new season, or it will reveal the one deeply ingrained thing you've been protecting, something that needs to be surrendered for true freedom. Here is the unexpected truth, a paradigm-shifting revelation. The thing that has been most effectively blocking your breakthrough is not a relentless spiritual attack. It is not the weight of your past traumas. It is not the wounds inflicted by the people who have hurt you. It is your attachment to the version of yourself that suffered, because that version of you became familiar. It became comfortable in a strange and paradoxical way. That version became safe, a known quantity in a world of uncertainty. That version became your identity, the narrative you unconsciously carried and presented to the world. And somewhere deep in your subconscious, walking in full, uninhibited freedom feels like losing something precious. It feels like leaving a part of yourself behind, a part that has known so much pain. It feels like forgetting what you went through in a way that somehow feels like a betrayal, like a dishonoring of your experience, of your survival. And so, you hold on to the wound, not because you consciously love the pain itself, for who truly loves pain, but because the pain became tangible proof of your experience, proof that it was real, that it wasn't imagined, proof that you survived something immense, something that could have broken you, but didn't. But God is not asking you to forget your story. He is not asking you to erase the scars that mark your journey. He is asking you to stop living inside it as though it is still your present reality. The exodus, the painful journey out of bondage, is behind you. The promised land, the place of abundance and fulfillment, is ahead. But you cannot truly enter the new territory, You cannot fully inhabit the blessings that await you while still emotionally and spiritually residing in the old one, haunted by its ghosts. And this profound internal shift from residing in the past to embracing the future, this is the seismic movement that changes everything. You are not who they said you were. You are not the sum total of what you survived. You are not defined by your delay, your detour, or your darkest moment. You are the one God separated before birth, a divine selection made in eternity. You are the one refined through the fires of trial, your character tempered and strengthened. You are the one protected in the wilderness, shielded by His presence. And you are positioned in this exact moment, not by accident, not by a random twist of fate, not by coincidence, but by divine appointment, a perfect placement for this season. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart, feel the steady beat of life within you, and speak this truth over yourself, internalizing its power. I release every agreement I made with the lie, with the distorted narratives that sought to define me. I release every label that was placed on me by someone who could not see my assignment, by eyes that were too limited to perceive my divine purpose. I release the version of myself defined by what I went through, the self shaped by suffering, and I willingly step into the version of myself designed by what I was called to, the self aligned with my divine destiny. I am not abandoned. I am divinely separated, set apart for a higher purpose. I am not delayed. I am being purposefully developed, my readiness meticulously cultivated. I am not overlooked. I am being profoundly prepared, equipped for the tasks ahead. I trust the process that I could not see, the unseen workings of heaven. I trust the God who has never stopped speaking my name, whose voice has always called me forward. My breakthrough is not coming, it is already in motion, an unfolding reality. And I walk forward from this moment, knowing with unshakable certainty that I am chosen, I am covered by His grace, and I am exactly where heaven intended me to be, perfectly positioned for His glory. If this message touched something deep within you, something that words can barely articulate, a stirring in your soul, don't let this sacred moment pass without doing something tangible with it. Leave a word in the comments, even if it's just chosen, or appointed, or ready. It matters. It creates a ripple of declaration. And if you know someone in your life who desperately needs to hear this message right now, be the conduit. Be the one who puts this truth in front of them. That act of sharing, of extending this lifeline of hope and revelation, is itself a powerful act of faith. And faith, when it moves, when it is activated by love and obedience, always moves something.